President Obama made a stray comment overseas that speaks volumes. He was taking a tour of a monastery in Thailand, the first stop in his trip to Asia, and listen to what he said about the situation in Washington to the monk who was showing him around. Just in case you couldn't hear him, he said, we're working on a budget in Washington. We're going to need a lot of prayer. ABC's Martha Raddatz is in Washington this morning, guest hosting ABC's This Week for George Stephanopoulos. Martha, good morning. I know they were laughing over in Thailand this morning, but they're not going to be laughing if they don't cut a budget deal soon. We're heading into what they call Tax-mageddon. I know you spoke to the Democratic leader in the House, Nancy Pelosi. Do you get a sense that we're anywhere close to a deal, or are we just hearing a lot of happy talk?
Well, you're hearing a lot of happy talk, Dan. I think the operative word is constructive. That's what Nancy Pelosi talked about. That's what Speaker John Boehner talked about, constructive. But there's also a lot of urgency. Now, Nancy Pelosi, and we have a lot more of this interview, a fascinating interview, told me she thought they could work out this deal in mid-December. I asked her, of course, look, we've heard optimism before, and this went nowhere. But there is that urgency now. Americans are sick of this. This is the second time around.
And so overnight, we saw this video of David Petraeus' alleged mistress, Paula Broadwell, his biographer, walking with her husband. It's the first time we've seen the two of them since this scandal broke. So let me ask you about the Petraeus affair, which I know you've been following so closely. Where does this go now? What, in your view, is likely to be the next shoe to drop?
Well, I think what we've learned this week is this is not over. I think a week ago when we heard David Petraeus say he was resigning because he had an extramarital affair, we thought it might go away. But every day it seems like there's something new. They're now looking through those classified documents that were apparently on Paula Broadwell's computer, and the CIA is now looking into David Petraeus, wanting to know whether any money was used. They're not laying any blame. They just want to take a second look and make sure he didn't pass any classified documents, make sure that he didn't do anything to facilitate that affair.
Yeah, but even though he's resigned, he still has security clearance, right?
He does. He still has security clearance, as you know. He testified on the Hill on Friday. He still gets intelligence. He was briefed before he went up to brief members of Congress. So, yes, I think what they're going to do is gradually take that away. They want the transition to be a smooth one.
Martha, thank you. Martha filling in for George on This Week. This morning she's got a big show. Not only will she be speaking with Nancy Pelosi, but also Republican Congressman Peter King and Democratic Senator Carl Levin. It's This Week, later this morning, right here on ABC.